I borrowed a $250,000 luxury travel trailer to answer one question. If two trailers weigh almost the same, but one is shaped like a box and the other is shaped like an aircraft, how much difference does that make when you tow it? This is my travel trailer. It cost about $20,000. It's fairly lightweight and it's shaped like most traditional campers, basically a box. And this is a Bowlus, widely considered one of the most aerodynamic travel trailers you can buy. But this is not a comparison of luxury versus budget. It's not a comparison of interiors, features, or whether a $250,000 trailer makes sense. This is about one thing: the shape. Same car, same driver, same stretch of California's Pacific Coast Highway, same speed, and two trailers that are almost identical in weight. One is a box and one is a bullet. Let's see what actually happens. My name is Scott, and I love exploring America's natural beauty with my travel trailer, or as it would be called in the UK, where I grew up, a caravan. This is my car, and it's an EV, but the same physics apply if you tow with a gas or diesel-powered vehicle. Better aerodynamics means better efficiency. In an EV, that shows up as more miles per kilowatt hour. In a gas-powered vehicle, it shows up as better miles per gallon. I've made a few videos already about towing this trailer with my EV on trips within 100 miles or so of where I live in Las Vegas. And when I bought the car, I knew towing would reduce the range. I expected that. What I didn't expect was just how much range I'd lose. On shorter trips, that isn't a big deal. But on longer trips involving multiple charging stops, towing efficiency really starts to matter. Fewer miles per charge means more stops, more planning, and less room for error if a charger is busy, broken, or too far away. Either way, your tow vehicle is using energy to do two things: pull the trailer's weight and push a huge amount of air out of the way. And at highway speeds, that air matters a lot. That's what got me interested in this whole idea. My trailer is not especially heavy, but it is very boxy. While it has a slightly curved front, it has totally flat sides and a completely square rear end. It's a design that's pretty typical for a lot of travel trailers. So I started reading more about aerodynamics, drag coefficients, and vehicle design. And one of the things I kept coming back to was this: if it's shaped like a large box, the drag is still going to be high. Then, a few months ago, I saw one of these in the freeway. This is a modern-day revival and update of a trailer design that goes back more than 95 years. I talked with the founder and CEO of Bowlus about that history and the inventor of the original.
Holly Bowlus was a builder of sailplanes, first in the 1930s, and of course those were built out of aluminum exactly the same way. And in the 1930s, Holly Bowlus designed and built the first all-aluminum travel trailers. The shape and profile was inspired by the aircraft history that Holly Bowlus had and the sailplanes that he designed.
So that's why these trailers look a little bit like an airplane, but are they as aerodynamic as one? The company claims that, depending on the tow vehicle and conditions, you can maintain up to 70% of your vehicle's normal driving range when towing one of their trailers. By comparison, when I tow my own trailer, my range is typically cut to less than half. So I got a little obsessed with this question: how much of that is really because of the shape? A traditional boxy trailer creates a lot of turbulence. The air hits the front, separates around the sides and the roof, and then leaves a messy, low-pressure wake behind the trailer. That turbulent wake is basically the trailer pulling backward on the vehicle. The ideal low-drag shape is not a box, it's much closer to a teardrop. That shape helps the air move around the trailer more smoothly, reducing the drag and meaning the vehicle uses less energy to maintain the same speed. Look at the shape of the Goodyear blimp. This is a highly optimized design to minimize drag, meaning this giant airship can move with the least energy possible. I reached out to several manufacturers of sleeker, more aerodynamic looking trailers to see if any of them would be willing to let me do a head-to-head test against my own boxy camper. And Bowlus said yes. But before we get into the test, I want to be very clear about the arrangement here. Bowlus loaned me their trailer for the afternoon. No money changed hands. They did not dictate the route, the speed, the testing plan, or the conclusions. I chose the test method, I recorded the data, and I have full editorial control over this video, which is on my channel, Scott Explains. They were happy for me to run the test however I thought was fair. The only real condition was that I had to come to Santa Barbara because that's where their showroom is. Come to Santa Barbara? They didn't have to twist my arm. So I started looking for the best possible test route nearby, ideally one that was similar to a test route I have here in Las Vegas. To make this as fair as I could, I wanted a road that was relatively flat, where I could maintain a steady speed, avoid city traffic, and drive the exact same route with both trailers. That matters because if I tested on a mountain road, like the climb to one of my favourite campgrounds near Las Vegas, where the road gains around 5,000 feet in just 17 miles, trailer weight would play a much bigger role. For this test, I wanted to focus on aerodynamics. So, I chose a section of Highway 101 where it runs concurrent with the Pacific Coast Highway west of Santa Barbara, heading towards Gaviota, before the road turns inland and climbs into the hills. The plan was simple. First, tow my own boxy trailer on the route and record the efficiency. Then, do the exact same run with the Bowlus. Same vehicle, same driver, same road, same speed, and same weather conditions. And because even a slight grade or wind direction can affect the result, I wanted to look not just at one direction, but at the full out and back average. That round trip number is the one that matters most. Before we head out, let's take a quick look at the two trailers. This is mine. It's a conventional, mass-produced travel trailer. It's not fancy, but it's affordable, practical, and it's given me a lot of great trips. And yes, her name is Jolene. After loading up in Las Vegas before I hit the road for Santa Barbara, I took it to a CAT scale. Anyone can go to one of these, and from your mobile phone, you can weigh your rig for a fee of $15. So, while my trailer's dry weight is 3,265 pounds, I knew that for this test, it weighed exactly 3,820 pounds. For the purposes of this test, it's almost the same as the Bowlus. But aerodynamically, it's pretty blunt. That's not unusual. This is what most travel trailers look like. And this is the Bowlus. It's their Endless Highways model.
This is our top of the line, and this is the one, Scott, that you're going to be towing today. So it has a dry weight of 3,600 pounds, GBWR of 4,400 pounds. This is our heaviest Bowlus that we've ever had. Bowluses start with dry weights of 2,800 pounds.
For this test, the difference between my loaded trailer and their dry trailer is only 220 pounds, small enough that the shape is what really matters. I was immediately struck by the rounded front end and how different that is to my trailer.
The exposed front surface area of the Bowlus is very minimal because you have your tow vehicle, of course, in front, and that's going to come up from about here up. And so the actual exposed front surface area of the Bowlus is very minimal.
And the design of the back end is even more distinctive.
So all of that air is coming off the sides and then coming together. So it's coming off the Bowlus very easily, which is also important.
To help visualize what Geneva is describing, I had a quick airflow animation made comparing the rear wake behind my trailer with the Bowlus. This isn't meant to be a full engineering study, but it does show the basic idea. The box trailer leaves a much messier wake, while the tapered Bowlus helps the airflow come back together more smoothly. That's the theory, but I wanted to know what happens in the real world. So, first up, my trailer. For this test, I'm using my Kia EV9. One of the useful things about testing with an EV is that the car gives very precise data on exactly how much electricity has been used. It tells me how many miles I'm getting per kilowatt hour, which is basically the EV equivalent of miles per gallon. Like MPG, the higher the number, the more efficiently I'm towing. I'm going to keep the speed as consistent as I reasonably can at 55 miles per hour, as that's the speed limit when towing in California. I used cruise control and made sure to avoid sudden acceleration or braking unless safety required it. I'm now in the first leg with my trailer, and once I reached 55 miles an hour at the bottom of the on-ramp, I hit the trip reset button. You'll remember I said this 18-mile section of Highway 1 is relatively flat, and it is, but as you can see, it's not perfectly flat. But the maximum change in elevation along this route is only around 140 feet. At the end of the outbound leg, my trailer averaged 1.3 miles per kilowatt hour. So this is the baseline. This is the trailer I know. I've towed it plenty of times, and this kind of efficiency is pretty much what I've come to expect. But one direction is not enough. There could be slight tailwind, slight headwind, all the things that can distort a test like this. So I turned around and ran the same route back with one change, which was a short stop at a beautiful rest stop overlooking the Pacific Ocean, adding 0.2 miles in this direction. On the return leg, my trailer also averaged exactly the same 1.3 miles per kilowatt hour. I've conducted similar flat tests in Las Vegas, so I was happy to see the results from this test loop in California were in line with those. For the full round trip, my boxy trailer averaged 1.3 miles per kilowatt hour. That is the number the Bowlus has to beat. On this trip, we used 29% of the battery. This efficiency equates to a range on my car of 125 miles on a full battery. That's a big drop from my car's official EPA range of 280 miles on one charge. After dropping my trailer off at an RV park in Santa Barbara, I also ran the same loop with just the car on its own with no trailer attached. I wanted a control run to see what the car would do in the same route without any trailer drag at all. I'd been closely watching the weather forecasts, and at the same time the following day, the temperature, wind speed, and wind direction were all reported as very similar to the conditions during the test with my trailer. Now it was time to hook up the Bowlus. One thing to call out, this particular Bowlus has the Adventure package fitted, which means chunkier off-road tyres instead of the standard road tyres, as well as extra ground clearance. That likely adds some rolling resistance and aerodynamic penalty, but changing tyres just wasn't practical for this test. The other Bowlus seen here has regular road tyres, but this model, the Rivet, was significantly lighter, so wouldn't have made for a fair comparison. I'll be honest, it felt slightly surreal hitching a $250,000 trailer to my car, and I'm not going to lie, I was pretty nervous. But from a testing point of view, this is exactly what I wanted. The Bowlus is similar in weight to my trailer, but radically different in shape. So, if there's a big difference in efficiency, it should come down to aerodynamics. While getting the Bowlus out of their showroom, I also got to try a feature they call Aeromove, which is a remote control system for maneuvering the trailer at low speed. Someone who still hasn't entirely mastered reversing with the trailer attached, I can definitely see the appeal. With the Bowlus hitched up, I headed back out onto the same stretch of highway. This time, the Bowlus team had a chase car following to get moving exterior footage, which they kindly shared with me for this video. Right away, this feels different behind the car. Nothing dramatic, but the Bowlus is 4 inches narrower than my trailer, and I did notice that. Even though it's only a 2-inch difference in each side, you could see it in the wing mirrors. I drove through the urban section of the freeway until reaching Goleta, made a quick stop to check the cameras were working, and then rejoined the freeway using the exact same ramp as the day before. Once I got to 55 miles an hour, I again hit the trip reset button. The dashboard data is where this gets interesting. Just over 18 miles later, at the end of the outbound leg, the Bowlus had averaged 1.7 miles per kilowatt hour. So in this direction, the Bowlus was 31% more efficient than my trailer in terms of miles per kilowatt hour. For comparison, if you're driving a gas tow vehicle that normally gets 10 miles to the gallon, that would mean an increase to about 13 miles to the gallon. I don't want to overstate just one half of the test. So I turned around and did the return leg in exactly the same way as I'd done it earlier with my own trailer. That also included the exact same stop at the Arroyo Hondo Overlook. By the way, I'll put the full test route and methodology on my blog. If you decide to do your own trailer test, make sure to comment and let us know how it goes. On the way back, the Bowlus did even better, averaging 2.1 miles per kilowatt hour. And with that, we can calculate the full round trip results for this 36.6 mile test loop. With my boxy trailer, the efficiency was 1.3 miles per kilowatt hour. And with the Bowlus, it was 1.9 miles per kilowatt hour. That means the Bowlus saw a 46% improvement in miles per kilowatt hour in this real-world test, using the same vehicle, same driver, same road, same speed, and almost the same trailer weight. So, what does that actually mean in the real world? On this trip with the Bowlus, it only used 20% of the battery, instead of the 29% used when towing my trailer. Based on these results, in my EV, I could tow the Aerodynamic Bowlus 183 miles on a full charge instead of just 125 miles with my trailer. That's about an extra hour of drive time without stopping. On a short weekend trip, that means arriving with more battery left. But on a longer trip, that could mean fewer charging stops, shorter charging stops, or simply having more confidence when chargers are far apart. And for people towing with gas or diesel vehicles, the same principle applies. Better efficiency means burning less fuel and making fewer stops for gas. Bowlus claims that when towing one of their trailers with an EV, you can retain up to 70% of the vehicle's EPA range. In my test with my EV9, the result worked out to about 65% of EPA range. But with one of their lighter trailers and regular road tyres, I think 70% is certainly possible. But I do want to be careful about what this test does and does not prove. This was one car, one road, one set of conditions with 2 different trailers. Speed, road surface, and traffic were all the same. I checked several weather and wind apps, and while they did all report the same conditions, there could easily have been some variations. Ideally, I would have done multiple runs, but unfortunately, schedules didn't allow for that. One thing I should mention, both the car-only control run and the Bowlus showed noticeably better efficiency on the return journey, while my trailer showed the same in both directions. My best explanation is that the car and the Bowlus are both much more aerodynamic, so small changes in wind, elevation, or coastal gusts could show up more clearly. My trailer is already creating so much drag that any smaller directional effect was either overwhelmed by that drag or hidden by the car rounding efficiency to 1 decimal place. That's exactly why I'm using the full out and back average, not the best single direction. I do have some bonus measurements for the additional driving I did with both my trailer and the Bowlus in town, and I'll share those on my blog. For a real-world test, I'm pretty confident this showed what I set out to measure, and I'd like to do more of these tests with other trailers of different shapes and sizes. A teardrop, fiberglass, Airstream, pop-up, anything really. And that brings me to the bigger point. I'm not saying everyone should go out and buy a Bowlus, and at a starting price of $150,000, most people can't. That's a lot of money. My trailer only cost around $20,000, but these two trailers are not remotely the same kind of product. After safely returning their trailer, I was very curious to see inside, and it is a beautiful piece of American engineering and craftsmanship. But my test isn't about luxury or budget, it's about design and how that affects efficiency. And I would love to see more travel trailer manufacturers take aerodynamics seriously at more accessible price points. Better trailer design could make a real difference. For now, my takeaway from this test is simple. A boxy trailer and an aerodynamic trailer can weigh almost the same, but they don't tow the same. Sure, a lighter trailer is always going to be better, but shape matters a lot more than you think. And after doing this test, I'm more convinced than ever that the future of towing, especially towing with an EV, is not just about bigger batteries, more chargers, or more powerful trucks. It's also about designing trailers that are easier to move through the air. And I want to test more of them. So if you're in or near Las Vegas and you have a different type of trailer you'd be willing to let me borrow for a few hours, get in touch. I'd love to build a bigger real-world comparison of how trailer shape affects towing efficiency. If you want all the data from this trip and a description of the full test protocol, as well as what I do differently next time, you can get all that on my blog at scottexplains.com. Check out this video where I go on 3 separate camping trips towing my EV. Or if you'd like to see more of my conversation with the CEO of Bowlus as we talk about aerodynamics and design of the Bowlus, click here. Thank you for watching. My name is Scott, and this is my channel, Scott Explains.